The negative side believes that eminent domain is not being abused, but instead is within the rights of the government and actually helps the general public. However, the affirmative group will demonstrate how these statements are not necessarily accurate. First, in their first argument, Alex states that how eminent domain benefits the community significantly. But in his argument, he's only providing us with one example of many cases. To prove my first argument, I express that eminent domain does not only not benefit communities, but also lacks commitment to its use. As stated by Tom Reed in July 2nd, 2015, today, 10 years after the Kello decision, the property where Ms. Kello's homes once stood is vacant and a desolate lot. After spending millions of dollars of taxpayer money and facing several hardworking families, forcing several hardworking families out of their homes, their economic development plan was a complete failure. The abandoned 90-acre lot of the heart of London is a chilling example of the danger posed to the government overreach and the intrusion into the lives of American citizens. This is only one of many examples of how eminent domain harms our communities. I will be elaborating on more evidence in my following arguments. In Alex's second argument, he states how the concept of public is evolving by giving the example of hospitals, and that the public benefit needs to include the quality of life into its definition. However, let's take into consideration that the actual definition of benefit comes from the word benefactum, which means good deed or to do good. Now, if we look at the evidence from John Mark, January 24th, 2017, Trump swooped in, having bought Jesun's remains, seeking to enlarge his casino empire. He too made a play for her land, desiring to turn it into a waiting area for limousines. So he tried to bulldoze an elderly widow's home. So how exactly is this any public use that would later on benefit our community? Also, as an additional statement, a handful of states still permit condemnation of property for private development. In Illinois, in May 26, 2015, the Kello decision granted a massive political backlash that led 45 states to enact eminent domain reform acts. A number of states, such as Arizona and Florida, have adopted a strong, effective reforms, but sadly, many others passed laws that only pretended to limit economic development takings while actually allowing them to continue under other names. But a handful of states still permit condemnation of property for private development in the blighted areas, neighborhoods, and often inhabited by minority properties. This proves how even though the concept of public use could evolve, this does not necessarily mean that it will demonstrate a good deed/benefit for our society now, not now nor in the future. Since yes, eminent domain has the capability of constructing public areas such as hospitals to help us, but very easily as well, eminent domain can use it to build parking lots for limousines, malls, and even continue to take minority homes. This takes me to my third argument when Alex expresses that our data is outdated, but in fact, this can actually be debated by demonstrating that from the 1950s all the way to today, eminent domain's victims are mostly the elderly and poor minorities. Brandon Galey in May 25, 2017 states, the victims of eminent domain are mostly the elderly, the poor, and minorities. This is often because they lack the money of political clout to stop the process. Even the first cases of removing unwanted neighborhoods from the communities as a public good date back to the 1950s. In San Francisco, 4,000 people living below the property level were relocated into new neighborhoods such as hotel business that could be developed. As you can see, this establishes the fact that while eminent domain statistics prove that from the 1950s all the way to our current day, 2017, a lot of minorities are being targeted by eminent domain. To be more specific, let's take into consideration that 32.4% of the United States is based on minorities. So there alone, eminent domain has plenty of room to impose their laws. In my last argument, I would like to address how Alex establishes how...
So Alex, we'll give you 1 minute with her, and then we'll let your other minute be with Marcel.
Okay, for your first argument, you say that eminent domain lacks commitment. Do you have any other examples of projects not being able to be followed through other than Kilo?
No, I do not.
Okay. And for your second argument, you talk about how Trump tried to bulldoze someone's house for a limousine parking lot. Do you know if he succeeded?
He did not succeed because the lady insisted on keeping her home. However, he and other people that were trying to remove her house harmed her house in order for her to move, but she still insisted not to do it.
Okay. And in your third argument, the statistics talking about the targeting the elderly and the poor, the argument was about the increases after 2006. Do you think that these statistics prove increases as well?
Yeah, in my third argument, it's actually is in May 25th, 2017, and that is dating to today's example, like how I stated in San Francisco, 4,000 people had to be relocated, and I did not have time to go to the 2017 statistics.
All right, let's grab Marcel. So everyone's just listening.